Some people walk into your life and change everything without saying a word. For me, that person was Mason Carter, my older brother's best friend, the guy I was never supposed to look at twice, and the only person who ever made me believe in fate. This is the story of one summer that rewrote my entire life. A summer of stolen glances, whispered confessions, and a love that was never supposed to happen. But sometimes the heart wants what it wants, even when everything says it's wrong. My name is Jamie Sullivan, and this is how I fell in love with the one person I couldn't have. The August heat clung to my skin as I stepped out of the Uber, my worn duffel bag slung over one shoulder. 3 years. That's how long it had been since I'd stood in front of this house. The modest two-story colonial with its fatting blue shutters, and the maple tree in the front yard where I'd spent countless summer afternoons reading in the shade. Home, the word felt foreign on my tongue. Jamie, my mom burst through the front door before I'd made it halfway up the walkway, her arms already outstretched. She looked older than I remembered, more gray threaded through her dark hair, but her smile was the same warm embrace it had always been. "Hi, Mom." I let myself sink into her hug, breathing in her familiar lavender perfume. For a moment, I was 12 again, safe and unburdened by the weight of who I'd become. "Look at you," she said, pulling back to examine me with glistening eyes. "So grown up. College did you good, sweetheart." I managed a smile, though it felt fragile. Coming out to my parents during sophomore year had created a rift that time and distance had only partially healed. My dad's silence on the phone calls that followed still echoed in my chest. My brother Tyler's supportive texts had been lifelines, but even those couldn't bridge the gap of 3 years away. "Is Tyler home?" I asked as we headed inside, the familiar creak of the porch steps triggering a cascade of memories. "He's out with Mason helping him move some furniture. They should be back soon." Mom's voice was casual, but I felt my stomach tighten at the name. Mason Carter. I hadn't let myself think about him during my years away. Every time his name came up in Tyler's messages or Mom's calls, I'd carefully steered the conversation elsewhere, building walls around memories I couldn't afford to revisit. The house smelled like fresh coffee and the cinnamon candles Mom always burned. Everything looked the same: the worn leather couch, the family photos lining the stairwell, the small scratches on the hardwood floor from when we tried to teach our old dog Buster to play fetch indoors. It should have been comforting, this unchanged landscape of my childhood. Instead, it felt like stepping into a museum of a person I used to be. "I made your room up fresh," Mom said, leading me upstairs. "Nothing's changed. I kept it just the way you liked it." My old room was a time capsule. Band posters on the walls, artists I'd pretended to love because they seemed appropriately masculine. The shelf of soccer trophies I'd earned while suppressing every part of myself that didn't fit the mold. The twin bed with its navy blue comforter, where I'd spent countless sleepless nights Googling, "Am I gay?" on my phone under the covers, terrified someone would find my search history. "Thanks, Mom." I set my bag down, suddenly exhausted. She lingered in the doorway, wringing her hands in that nervous way she had. "Your father. He's trying, Jamie. He really is." I nodded, not trusting my voice. We both knew trying meant he'd acknowledged my existence without actively condemning it. A low bar, but apparently the best we could hope for. "I'll let you settle in. Dinner's at 6. She squeezed my shoulder and left me alone with my ghosts. I collapsed onto the bed, staring at the ceiling with its faded glow-in-the-dark stars. The last time I'd slept in this room, I'd been a frightened 18-year-old, counting down the days until I could escape to college and finally breathe. Now I was 21, openly gay and supposedly confident in who I was. I'd found my people at school, the LGBTQ plus student alliance, the friends who actually understood me, the first tentative relationships that taught me I was capable of being loved. So why did being back here make me feel like that scared kid all over again? The sound of the front door opening jolted me from my thoughts. "Mom, we're back." Tyler's voice boomed through the house, followed by the deeper rumble of someone laughing. My heart stopped. I knew that laugh. It had haunted my dreams for years, rich and genuine, the kind that made everyone around him smile too. I sat frozen on the bed, listening to the commotion downstairs, the easy banter between my brother and his best friend. "Is Jamie here yet?" Tyler asked. "Upstairs in his room," Mom replied. "Why don't you boys go say hello?" Footsteps on the stairs, two sets getting closer. I stood up, wiping my suddenly sweaty palms on my jeans. My reflection in the mirror showed a young man I barely recognized sometimes, taller than I'd been in high school, with styled hair instead of the shaggy mess I'd hidden behind, wearing clothes that actually fit and expressed something about who I was. The fitted black t-shirt and slim jeans were a far cry from the oversized hoodies and baggy cargo pants of my teenage years. I looked like someone who had his shit together. I felt like I was about to come apart. "Jamie," Tyler burst into the room, all 6 feet and broad shoulders of him, and pulled me into a crushing hug. "Man, it's good to see you." "You too," I managed, returning the embrace. Over his shoulder I saw him. Mason Carter stood in the doorway, and the world tilted sideways. He'd always been attractive in that effortless way that seemed almost unfair, tall and athletic, with dark hair that never quite stayed in place and eyes the color of aged whiskey. But 3 years had transformed him from the 21-year-old I remembered into something that made my breath catch in my throat. He'd filled out, his shoulders broader, his jaw more defined. Stubble shadowed his face, and his white t-shirt clung to muscles that suggested hours at the gym. But it was his eyes that undid me, warm and intense as they met mine, crinkling at the corners as a slow smile spread across his face. "Hey, Jamie." His voice was lower than I remembered, textured with something I couldn't name. "Long time." Mason, his name felt dangerous on my lips. "Yeah, long time." Tyler, oblivious to the electric tension crackling in the air, clapped me on the shoulder. "Mason just bought a house across town. Can you believe it? This guy's actually adulting." "Trying to anyway," Mason said, his gaze never leaving mine. "It's good to see you. You look different, good different." There was something in the way he said it, a weight to the words that made my skin prickle with awareness. I forced myself to look away, focusing on Tyler instead. "So you're still local?" I asked Mason, trying to sound casual. "Yeah, I'm teaching at the high school now, history and coaching varsity soccer." He leaned against the doorframe, utterly at ease in a way I envied. "What about you?" "Tyler says you're doing graphic design." "Graduating next May. I've got an internship lined up in the city for the fall." "That's amazing." And the way he said it, like he genuinely meant it, made something warm unfurl in my chest. "We should all grab beers this week," Tyler interjected. "Catch up properly. Mason, you're free Friday, right?" "Yeah, I'm around." Mason's eyes were still on me, and I felt exposed, like he could see every carefully constructed defense I'd built over the years crumbling under his gaze. They left me alone a few minutes later, Tyler dragging Mason back downstairs to help move something in the garage. I sank onto my bed, my heart racing like I'd run a marathon. This was going to be a problem. I'd convinced myself that the crush I'd had on Mason when I was 18 was just that, a crush, a confused teenager's infatuation with an older, unattainable guy, something I'd grown out of along with this house and this town. But the way my body had reacted to seeing him again, the way my hands had trembled and my voice had cracked, told a different story. This wasn't nostalgia or a ghost of old feelings. This was worse. Because 18-year-old me had known better than to hope for anything. 18-year-old me had understood that guys like Mason Carter, straight, conventionally masculine, my brother's best friend, were off limits in every possible way. But 21-year-old me, who'd learned that life was short and love was rare, and you had to grab happiness where you could find it. That version of me was dangerous. I pulled out my phone and texted my best friend Sienna, "I'm in trouble." Her response was immediate, "What happened?" "He's here. And he's even more gorgeous than I remembered." "Oh, honey, the brother's best friend." "Yeah. Well, this summer just got interesting. Smiling face with horns." I tossed the phone aside and buried my face in my hands. Interesting wasn't the word I'd have chosen. Complicated, dangerous, potentially devastating, those felt more accurate. The thing no one tells you about coming home is that you can't actually go back. You can visit the places and the people, but you're not the same person who left. And sometimes, when you return, you realize that the thing you were running from was never really about the place at all. It was about the feelings you couldn't face. I'd spent 3 years building a life where I could be myself, where loving another man wasn't something to hide or feel ashamed of. I'd worked hard to become comfortable in my own skin, to believe I deserved happiness and love just like anyone else. But all of that confidence, all of that growth, felt fragile now. Because Mason Carter represented everything I'd tried to leave behind: the impossible want, the longing for someone I couldn't have, the reminder that some parts of my old life would never accept me the way I needed. Dinner that night was awkward in the way I'd expected. My dad was polite but distant, asking surface-level questions about school while avoiding eye contact. Mom overcompensated with cheerfulness, telling stories about neighborhood gossip and trying to fill the silence. Tyler did his best to keep things light, but even his natural charisma couldn't quite bridge the gulf at the table. I went to bed early, claiming exhaustion from travel. But sleep didn't come easily. I lay in the dark, listening to the familiar sounds of the house settling, and thought about whiskey-colored eyes and a smile that felt like coming home. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. "Really glad you're back, bro. Missed you." I smiled despite everything. "Missed you too." Another message came through, and my heart stuttered when I saw the name. It was from Mason. Somehow Tyler must have given him my number. "Hey, it really is good to see you again. I know things are probably weird being back, but if you ever want to grab coffee or something, just the two of us, I'm around. No pressure." I stared at the message for a long time, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Every rational part of my brain screamed that this was a terrible idea, that getting closer to Mason would only end in heartbreak, that I should keep my distance and survive this summer with my heart intact. But my heart, that treacherous organ, had other ideas. "Coffee sounds good," I typed back. "Maybe Wednesday." His response was immediate. "Perfect. I'll text you details. Sleep well, Jamie." I wouldn't sleep well. I knew that already, because I just agreed to spend time alone with the one person who'd made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. The one person who'd made me realize that some feelings don't fade with time and distance. They just wait, patient and inevitable, for the moment when you're foolish enough to come home. The Cedar Grove Cafe hadn't changed in 3 years. Same exposed brick walls, same mismatched vintage furniture, same indie music playing just loud enough to provide privacy without drowning out conversation. I'd spent countless hours here in high school, usually hunched over homework, occasionally sneaking glances at couples who seemed so comfortable with their affection, wondering if I'd ever have that. Now I sat by the window, watching Mason's truck pull into a parking spot, and wondered if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. He walked in like he owned the place, drawing eyes without seeming to notice. He traded the t-shirt for a dark green Henley that made his eyes even more striking, and when he spotted me, his face lit up with a smile that made my stomach flip. "Sorry I'm late," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. "Had a meeting with the athletic director that ran long." "No worries, I just got here." A lie. I'd been here 20 minutes early, nursing an iced coffee and trying to calm my nerves. We ordered another coffee for me, a black tea for him, and fell into a surprisingly easy conversation about his teaching job, my design projects, the changes in town. Surface-level stuff, comfortable and safe. But there was something underneath it all, a current I couldn't quite name. The way his eyes lingered on me when I talked, the way he leaned forward like he didn't want to miss a single word, the way his fingers drummed absently on the table between us, close enough to touch if I was brave enough to reach out. "So," he said after a lull, his expression growing more serious, "how are you really doing? Being back can't be easy." The question caught me off guard with its directness. "What makes you say that?" "I remember how things were before you left." His voice was gentle but firm. "Tyler told me some of what happened after you came out, your dad's reaction." Heat crept up my neck. Of course Tyler had told him, they shared everything. "It's fine, he's civil, that's more than some people get." "Civil isn't the same as accepted." Mason's jaw tightened. "You deserve better than just civil, Jamie." The fierce protectiveness in his voice startled me. "It's complicated." "It shouldn't be. You're his son. You're an incredible person who happens to be gay. That should be celebrated, not just tolerated." Something cracked in my chest at his words. In 3 years, my father had never said anything remotely like that. He'd acknowledged my sexuality in the same tone he might acknowledge an unfortunate medical diagnosis, something regrettable but not worth discussing. "Thank you," I managed, my voice rough. "That means a lot." Mason reached across the table, his hand covering mine for just a moment before pulling back. The touch was brief but electric, leaving my skin tingling. "I mean it. I'm glad you came back, even if it's hard. You seem more yourself than you did before." "I am." I met his eyes, finding an intensity there that made my pulse race. "College gave me space to figure out who I am, who I want to be." "And who's that?" The question hung between us, loaded with possibility. I could give him the safe answer, talk about my career goals, my hobbies, the surface-level things that defined Jamie Sullivan's life. Or I could tell him the truth. "Someone who doesn't apologize for existing," I said slowly. "Someone who believes he deserves love, someone who's done hiding." "Good." Mason's smile was soft, almost proud. "That's really good, Jamie." The conversation shifted to lighter topics, shared memories of Tyler's various disasters, stories from Mason's first year teaching, my misadventures in college. We talked until the cafe started closing, until the barista began giving us pointed looks, until the sun had set and the streetlights flickered on outside. "I should let you go," Mason said reluctantly, checking his phone. "But this was really nice. I forgot how easy you are to talk to." "We didn't talk much before," I pointed out. "You were always Tyler's friend." "Yeah," something flickered across his face, too quick to read. "That was a mistake." Before I could process what that meant, he was standing, reaching for his wallet. I beat him to it, dropping cash on the table. "My treat," I said. "Thanks for meeting me." "Any time." He held the door open for me and we stepped out into the warm evening air. "Actually, I was thinking, there's this art gallery opening downtown Friday night. New local artist, pretty interesting stuff. Want to come with me?" My brain short-circuited. Like a date. The word hung in the air between us, dangerous and thrilling. Mason's expression was unreadable in the dim light. "Like two friends checking out art," he said carefully, "unless you want it to be something else." My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it, the moment where I could play it safe or take a leap into the unknown. "I'd like that," I said, "either way." His smile was slow and devastating. "Friday at 7 then, I'll pick you up." I watched him drive away, my mind reeling. Had that been flirting? Was Mason actually interested, or was I projecting my own desperate hopes onto friendly gestures? And if he was interested, what did that mean? My phone buzzed with a text from Sienna. "How did it go?" I have no idea, I typed back, but I think he might have just asked me on a date. Details now. I filled her in as I walked home, trying to make sense of the last 3 hours. Sienna, ever the romantic, was convinced Mason was into me. I was less certain. Straight guys could be affectionate and attentive without it meaning anything, and I'd learned the hard way not to read too much into kindness. But there had been something in his eyes, in the way he'd touched my hand, in that comment about it being a mistake not to talk to me before. Something that felt like possibility. Friday arrived with the weight of expectation and anxiety. I changed my outfit 4 times before settling on dark jeans and a fitted burgundy button-down that Sienna had insisted made my eyes absolutely smoldering. I felt ridiculous and nervous and terrified and excited all at once. Tyler was in the living room when Mason's truck pulled up. "You look fancy," he commented. "Where are you going?" "Art gallery opening with Mason." "Oh cool, you guys are hanging out now. That's awesome." Tyler's smile was genuine, completely oblivious to the way my stomach was in knots. Mason could use more friends. He's been kind of isolated since the breakup. I froze halfway to the door. Breakup. "Yeah, didn't he tell you? He and his girlfriend split last year. Pretty rough from what I heard." Girlfriend. The word was a bucket of ice water over my fevered hopes. Of course Mason had a girlfriend. Had a girlfriend. Because he was straight and I was an idiot for thinking otherwise. The doorbell rang before I could spiral further. I opened it to find Mason in a navy blazer over a white shirt, looking unfairly good. "Ready?" he asked. "Yeah." I forced enthusiasm into my voice, ignoring the crushing disappointment in my chest. The drive to the gallery was filled with easy conversation, but I couldn't shake Tyler's words. Girlfriend. Mason was straight. This wasn't a date. I'd been projecting, reading signals that weren't there, setting myself up for heartbreak like I always did. The gallery was in a converted warehouse, all high ceilings and exposed pipes, with white walls displaying vibrant mixed-media pieces. The artist, it turned out, was exploring themes of identity and transformation, queer identity specifically, with bold colors and layered symbolism that spoke to the experience of coming out and finding yourself. I stood in front of a piece called Becoming, a figure emerging from shadow into light, their forms shifting and reforming with each layer of paint, and felt tears prick my eyes. "You okay?" Mason's voice was soft beside me. "Yeah, it's beautiful and honest." "It is." He was quiet for a moment. "Can I tell you something?" "Of course." "When Tyler told me you'd come out, I was relieved." I turned to look at him, confused. "Relieved?" "I always suspected," he said carefully, his eyes on the painting rather than me. "The way you seemed uncomfortable in your own skin, like you were performing a role, and I wanted to tell you it was okay, that I understood." "You understood?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. "How could you possibly understand?" Mason's jaw worked, muscles tensing. "Because I know what it's like to hide who you are, to pretend because it's easier than facing the truth." The words hung between us, heavy with implication. My heart started to race. "Mason." "I'm bisexual, Jamie." He finally met my eyes and I saw fear there and hope and determination. Have been my whole life, but I only started admitting it to myself in the last couple years. The breakup Tyler mentioned, it happened because I finally told her the truth, that I was attracted to men too and I couldn't keep pretending I wasn't. The world seemed to tilt and resettle into a new configuration. "You're yeah." His laugh was shaky. "I haven't told Tyler yet or my family. You're actually the first person in town who knows. I needed you to know. Because these past few days with you, I haven't been able to stop thinking about." He cut himself off, shaking his head. "Sorry, that's too much. I shouldn't have." "No." I grabbed his arm before he could walk away. "Don't apologize, please." We stared at each other in the middle of the gallery. surrounded by art about transformation and truth, and I felt something fundamental shift between us. I had the biggest crush on you in high school, I admitted in a rush. You were Tyler's cool, older best friend, and I thought you were the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. And when I left for college, I told myself I was over it, that it was just a kid's fantasy. And now, his voice was barely above a whisper. Now I think I might have been lying to myself. Mason's hand came up to cup my cheek, his thumb brushing my jawline with devastating gentleness. Jamie, I need to be honest with you. When you left 3 years ago, I was relieved, because being around you was getting harder and harder. You were so young and Tyler's little brother, and I had no right to feel the things I was starting to feel. But now you're back, and you're this incredible man, and I can't stop thinking about what it would be like to kiss me, I breathed. We're in public. I don't care. His smile was beautiful and broken and hopeful all at once. Later, he promised. Let me do this right. Let me take you to dinner somewhere we can actually talk, and then, if you still want. I'll want, I assured him. We left the gallery in a daze, the art forgotten in the wake of our confessions. Mason drove us to a small Italian restaurant on the edge of town, the kind of intimate place with candles on the tables and wine bottles lining the walls. Over pasta and red wine, we talked like we'd never talked before. He told me about his journey of self-discovery, the years of denial and confusion, the relationships that never quite felt right because he was only giving half of himself. I shared my own story, the fear and isolation of high school, the freedom of college, the slow process of learning to love myself. I was so jealous of you when you came out, Mason admitted. You were so brave. You just claimed your truth and left. I ran away, I corrected. I was terrified. But you did it. You chose yourself. His hand found mine across the table, fingers lacing together. I'm still trying to learn how to do that. We can learn together. The words felt like a promise, a beginning. By the time we left the restaurant, it was nearly midnight, and the streets were quiet under a canopy of stars. Mason pulled into a secluded parking lot overlooking the river, killing the engine. The silence was charged with anticipation. Jamie, he said, turning to face me, I want to be clear about something. This isn't just physical attraction for me. I care about you. I want to know you, really know you. And I understand if that's complicated because of Tyler, because of your family, because of everything. But I need you to know that my feelings are real. Mine too, I whispered. He leaned across the console, giving me time to pull away if I wanted. But I didn't want to. I met him halfway, and when our lips touched, it felt like every cliché in love song and romantic movie suddenly made sense. The kiss was gentle at first, exploratory, learning the shape and taste of each other. Then Mason's hand tangled in my hair, pulling me closer, and the kiss deepened into something urgent and desperate. Years of wanting, of wondering, of wishing poured into the connection. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Mason rested his forehead against mine. I've wanted to do that for so long, he confessed. How long? Since you were 18, which made me feel like a terrible person because you were too young and Tyler's brother and there were a million reasons it was wrong, but I couldn't help it. I'm not too young anymore. No, he agreed, his thumb tracing my lower lip. You're not. We kissed again, slower this time, savoring. His hands mapped my shoulders, my back, learning me through touch. I wound my fingers into his hair, marveling at the texture, the reality of him. We should probably talk about logistics, Mason murmured against my mouth. Tyler, your family, the fact that we live in a small town. Later, I said, pulling him back. Right now, I just want this. So we stayed in that parking lot, kissing like teenagers, making up for lost time and missed opportunities. And for the first time since coming home, I felt like maybe this summer wouldn't be about running away from my past. Maybe it would be about running toward my future. The next 2 weeks existed in a bubble of stolen moments and secret happiness. Mason and I saw each other almost every day, always with plausible excuses. Coffee runs, errands, helping Mason with his house, which wasn't entirely a lie. We did spend time there, though the projects were punctuated with long conversations on his couch and kisses that left me dizzy. We were careful, too careful maybe. Every public interaction was calibrated to read as friendship, nothing more. At family dinners when Mason came over, we barely looked at each other. The sneaking around felt thrilling and agonizing in equal measure. "This is ridiculous," I said one afternoon, lying on Mason's bed while he painted the guest room. Or rather, while I watched him paint, admiring the flex of his shoulders under his paint-splattered t-shirt. "We're adults. Why are we hiding like this?" Mason set down his roller, wiping his hands on a rag. "Because we need to figure out how to tell Tyler, and you need to be ready for how your family might react. They already know I'm gay. This shouldn't be a shock. But dating your brother's best friend, that's complicated, Jamie. Tyler might feel betrayed. Your parents might think I took advantage of you. We need a plan." He was right, I knew, but the secrecy was starting to wear on me. I'd spent too many years hiding to be comfortable with it now, even for good reasons. Mason crossed the room and sat beside me, his hand finding mine. "I know it's hard, but I don't want to lose Tyler's friendship over this, and I don't want to make your life harder than it already is. We just need a little more time to figure out how to do this right." I kissed him instead of arguing, and the conversation dissolved into touching and breathless laughter as paint transferred from his clothes to mine. But the universe, as it turned out, had other plans for our timeline. It happened on a Thursday evening. I told my family I was going to the bookstore, which wasn't technically a lie, Mason, and I had planned to browse the local shop before dinner. We were in the travel section, debating the merits of various European cities, when Mason leaned in to whisper something about Paris being overrated. I turned to respond and found his face inches from mine, his eyes warm with affection. Without thinking, I closed the distance and kissed him, brief and sweet, the kind of casual intimacy that had become natural between us in private. The gasp behind us made my blood run cold. I spun around to find Tyler standing there, a book clutched in his hands, his expression cycling through confusion, shock, and something that might have been hurt. "Ty," I started, but he was already backing away. I have to go." He practically fled from the store. Mason's hand on my shoulder was steady even as panic clawed at my chest. "Go after him. Talk to him. I'll wait." I found Tyler in the parking lot, leaning against his car with his hands pressed to his face. When he heard my footsteps, he looked up, and the betrayal in his eyes gutted me. "How long?" His voice was tight. "A couple weeks. Tyler, I wanted to tell you, we both did, but—" "A couple weeks," he laughed, but it was bitter. "You've been home for 3 weeks, Jamie, so this started, what, almost immediately." "It's not like that, it's not some casual thing. I have feelings for him, real feelings. He's my best friend, and you're my little brother. Did neither of you think about how completely messed up this is?" "We thought about it constantly." The words burst out of me, sharp with frustration. "We've been agonizing over it, trying to figure out the right way to tell you, because we knew you'd react like this." "Like what?" "Like someone who feels betrayed by the two people he trusts most." The accusation stung because it was partly fair. "Tyler, I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. But I'm not sorry about my feelings for Mason. I can't be." He stared at me for a long moment, his jaw working. "Is he serious about you? Or is this just him figuring out his sexuality, experimenting with whatever's convenient?" "Don't," my voice was sharp, "don't reduce what we have to that." "What do you have, Jamie? Really? Because from where I'm standing, this looks like a disaster waiting to happen. When it inevitably falls apart, I lose my best friend, you're heartbroken, and family dinners become a nightmare." You don't know that it'll fall apart. Don't I? Tyler's expression softened slightly, but the hurt remained. Come on, Jamie. You're 21. Mason's 24. This is his first time exploring this side of his sexuality. The odds of this being forever, they're not great. Every word was a knife, made worse by the kernel of truth in them. Because I'd had the same fears, late at night when Mason was asleep beside me and I was left alone with my thoughts. Maybe you're right, I said quietly. Maybe this crashes and burns, but I'd rather have something real and messy and complicated than spend my whole life wondering what if. I've done enough of that already. Tyler was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was weary. I need time to process this. I'm not saying I'm okay with it, but I'm not cutting you out of my life either. I just need space. Okay, I blinked back tears. I understand. He got in his car without another word, leaving me standing in the parking lot with my heart in pieces. Mason was waiting inside the bookstore, his face drawn with worry. When he saw my expression, he pulled me into a hug, not caring who might see. He's hurt, I mumbled into his shoulder, and angry, and he thinks we're making a mistake. Maybe we are, Mason said softly, but it's our mistake to make. The next few days were tense. Tyler avoided me at home, spending most of his time out with other friends or locked in his room. My parents noticed the tension but didn't push, probably assuming it was standard sibling stuff. Mason and I continued seeing each other, but the joy had been tainted by guilt and uncertainty. Every kiss was shadowed by the knowledge that we'd hurt someone we both cared about. On Sunday, a week after the bookstore incident, Tyler finally knocked on my bedroom door. "Can we talk?" he asked. I set aside my laptop. "Of course." He sat on the edge of my bed, looking uncomfortable. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I talked to Mason." My stomach clenched, and he told me how he feels about you, really told me. Tyler met my eyes. "Jamie, I've never heard him talk about anyone the way he talks about you, even his ex-girlfriend. There's this, I don't know, softness in his voice. He's serious about this, about you." Hope flickered in my chest. Yeah. Yeah, which is terrifying, honestly, because if you two break up, it's going to be awful for everyone. But, he sighed, "You're both adults, and you both seem happy, genuinely happy. I haven't seen Mason this light in years. And you're different too, more open." "I love him," I admitted. "I know it's fast and maybe that's crazy, but I do." Tyler's eyes widened. "Have you told him that?" "Not yet. I'm scared it's too soon." "Jamie, I've known Mason for almost 10 years. If he's with you, it's because he feels the same way, whether he's said it or not. He doesn't do anything halfway." We sat in silence for a moment before Tyler spoke again. "I'm still processing this. It's going to be weird for a while. But you're my brother and he's my best friend, and if you two want to be together, I'm not going to stand in your way." I threw my arms around him, relief flooding through me. "Thank you, seriously, thank you." "Just promise me something," he said. "Promise you'll be careful with each other, both of you. Because if this does fall apart, I don't want to have to choose sides." "We will, I promise." That evening I drove to Mason's house unannounced. He opened the door in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, his hair damp from a shower, and even like this, casual and unguarded, he took my breath away. "Jamie, everything okay?" I stepped inside and kissed him, pouring every ounce of feeling into it. When I pulled back, he was staring at me with dazed wonder. "I talked to Tyler," I explained. "He's okay with us. Well, getting there anyway." Mason's smile was brilliant. "Really?" "Really, which means we don't have to hide anymore, which means I can do this." I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "I love you, Mason. I know it's soon and maybe it's too much too fast, but it's the truth. I love you." His expression shifted through surprise, joy, and something that looked like relief. He cupped my face in both hands, his thumbs brushing my cheekbones. I love you too, he whispered. God, Jamie, I've been dying to say it. I love you so much it scares me. This kiss was different from all the others, deeper, more certain, infused with the freedom of spoken truth. Mason backed me toward the couch, and we collapsed onto it in a tangle of limbs. Stay tonight, he murmured against my neck. Stay every night. I still live with my parents, remember. So move in with me. I pulled back to look at him, checking if he was serious. His eyes were earnest, hopeful. Mason, that's crazy, too fast. I know, but I also know that I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build a life with you, and I'm tired of waiting for the right time when the right person is already here. Tears pricked my eyes. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Coming out to my parents about Mason was surreal. We sat them down together one evening, me and Mason on one couch, them on the other, Tyler hovering in the doorway for moral support. We wanted to tell you that we're together, I said, my hand finding Mason's. As in dating, in a relationship. My mother's eyes went wide. My father's expression remained unreadable. How long has this been going on? Mom asked. A few weeks officially, Mason answered. But I've had feelings for Jamie for much longer. And you're serious about this? This from my father, his first direct question to me about my personal life in 3 years. Yes, sir, Mason said firmly. Very serious, I love your son. The words hung in the air. My mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. My father stood and walked to the window, staring out at the darkening street. Dad, my voice wavered. He turned, and I was shocked to see his eyes were damp. I haven't been a good father to you, Jamie. These past few years especially. I let my own discomfort dictate how I treated you, and that was wrong. My breath caught. I don't understand everything about your life, he continued, but I'm trying to, and seeing you now with someone who clearly cares about you, who looks at you like you're the most important person in the world. His voice cracked. That's all any parent wants for their child, to be loved, to be happy. I crossed the room and hugged him, something I hadn't done since I was a kid. He held me tight, and I felt years of tension begin to dissolve. I'm proud of you, he whispered. I should have said that a long time ago. The rest of the summer unfolded like a dream. I moved into Mason's house, turning his spare room into a home office for my design work. We fell into domestic rhythms, grocery shopping together, cooking meals, arguing about whose turn it was to do the dishes. Tyler adjusted faster than I'd expected, even joining us for game nights and dinners. My parents made efforts too, inviting both of us over for Sunday lunches, my dad asking Mason about his teaching, my mom fussing over whether we were eating enough vegetables. We went public on social media too, posting a photo of us hiking at sunset, my head on his shoulder, both of us grinning at the camera. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Friends from college congratulating me, former classmates who'd wondered about me in high school sending supportive messages, and the local LGBTQ plus community welcoming us. There were negative reactions too. A few unfriends, some ugly comments we deleted and blocked, but they felt insignificant compared to the support. One evening in late August, as summer wound down and I prepared to return for my final year of college, Mason and I sat on his back porch watching the stars emerge. I'm going to miss this, I said, being with you every day. It's only a 2-hour drive. I can come on weekends, you can come home for holidays, we'll make it work. Long distance is hard. So is finding someone you love. He pulled me against his side. We've already overcome harder things than distance, Jamie. We can handle this. He was right. We'd navigated coming out, family dynamics, small-town judgment, and the vulnerability of admitting love. Distance would be a challenge, but not an insurmountable one. Hey, Mason said softly, I want to show you something. He led me inside to his bedroom and opened his nightstand drawer, pulling out a small velvet box. My heart started to race. "Relax," he said with a laugh. "It's not that, not yet anyway." He opened the box to reveal two simple silver bands. "Promise rings," he explained. "I know it's kind of old-fashioned, but I wanted you to have something. A reminder that no matter how far apart we are, you're it for me. This is real. We're real." I let him slide the ring onto my finger, the metal warm from his hands. Then I took the other ring and did the same for him. "I love you," I said, the words coming easier every time. "Thank you for being brave enough to pursue this, to pursue us." "Thank you for coming home," he countered, "for giving me a chance to know the real you." We made love that night with a tenderness that felt sacred, like we were consecrating something permanent. Afterward, lying in his arms, I thought about the scared 18-year-old who'd left this town believing he could never be loved here. That kid had been wrong. Love didn't depend on location. It depended on courage, the courage to be yourself, to speak your truth, to reach for happiness even when it seemed impossible. The living room of Mason's house, our house now, was packed with people. Tyler and his new girlfriend occupied the couch. My parents chatted with Mason's mom in the kitchen, and various friends from college and town mingled, drinks in hand. It was my graduation party, celebrating the completion of my degree and the start of my new job at a design firm in the city. But it felt like more than that. It felt like a celebration of everything we'd built in the past year. Mason found me on the back porch, escaping the noise for a moment. "You okay?" he asked, wrapping his arms around me from behind. "More than okay, happy." "Good," he kissed my temple. "I have something for you, graduation present." "Mason, you already gave me that ridiculously expensive tablet." "This is different." He pulled back and reached into his pocket, and my breath caught when I saw the small box. This time it was that. "Jamie Sullivan," he said, dropping to one knee. "This past year with you has been the best of my life. You've made me braver, kinder, and infinitely happier. I know we're young, and maybe some people will think this is too fast, but I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life making you smile. Will you marry me?" Through tears, I pulled him to his feet and kissed him. Yes, obviously yes. The ring, a simple gold band with a small diamond, fit perfectly. We stood there, holding each other, as our friends and family started to notice and cheer from inside. Tyler appeared in the doorway grinning. "About damn time, Carter." My dad shook Mason's hand with genuine warmth. My mom cried happy tears. The party transformed into an impromptu engagement celebration, and I felt overwhelmed with gratitude for this life, these people, this love. Later, after everyone had left and we were cleaning up together, Mason pulled me close. "No regrets?" he asked. I looked around at the home we'd built, thought about the journey that had brought us here, from stolen glances to secret kisses to this beautiful, open life we were creating together. "Not a single one," I said. "This is exactly where I'm supposed to be." Because sometimes, the person you're not supposed to fall for turns out to be the person you're meant to find. Sometimes, coming home isn't about returning to the past. It's about discovering the future you didn't know was waiting. And sometimes, your brother's best friend was never just a friend at all. He was everything.